Picture this. You're at a backyard barbecue. Paper plate in one hand. Lemonade in the other. A neighbor leans in. My brother just retired with $4 million in his 401k. Another nods. My sister's got over $3 million. Everyone smiles. You smile too. But on the drive home, something sits heavy in your chest. You walk in. You open your own statement. And there it is, that punch in the gut. Here's the truth nobody at that barbecue will ever tell you. In the entire United States, only about 3 out of 100 retirees have even $1 million in their retirement accounts. 3 out of 100. So today, I'm answering one honest question, the way I'd answer it at my own kitchen table. Who actually has $1 million for retirement in America? And what does that mean for you, even if you never get there? Stick with me, because in a few minutes, I'm going to drop you into one of 3 real groups. And one of those groups is actually in the safest position of all, even though they don't have $1 million. Most people guess the wrong one. Let's find yours. Now, why does this topic mess with your head so much? Simple. The noise. Retire with millions. 7-figure 401k. Everybody's a millionaire now. Hear it enough, and your brain decides that's normal. But headlines aren't data. Loud neighbors aren't data. So let's turn the noise off and look at what's real. Using Federal Reserve numbers, researchers estimate only about 3% of Americans have $1 million or more in accounts like 401k, and IRAs. Quick note, when I say 401k or IRA, I just mean the retirement accounts you save in at work or open at the bank. Nothing fancier. Among people already retired, that number barely moves. So let me say this slowly, because I want it to land. If you don't have $1 million sitting in those accounts, you are not broken. You are normal. In fact, you're in good company with almost everyone watching this. Let me make that real with one person. Meet John. He's 62. Worked 34 years. Raised 2 kids. Drives a paid-off truck. John retired with $240,000. And for 2 years, he was quietly ashamed of that number. He thought he'd failed. Then John learned one fact that finally let him sleep at night. I'll give you that fact in a few minutes. Hold on to John. We're following him through this whole video. Here's the trick in the numbers that fools almost everybody. You'll hear that the average retirement balance is over $300,000. But the average is a liar. Let me show you why. Imagine 10 neighbors on a street. 9 have a small backyard pool. 1 built an Olympic pool with a waterfall. The average pool on that street sounds enormous. But the typical one, the pool in the middle, is small. Retirement works the exact same way. A few very rich families pull the average way up. So the real number you want is the median, the one right in the middle. And the median retirement balance? Only about $87,000. Here's the part that stops people cold. Almost half of American households have nothing saved for retirement at all. So John, with his $240,000, is already ahead of most of the country. Let me put it bluntly. If you've saved somewhere between $400,000 and $800,000, you might feel behind. But next to the typical American retiree, you are way ahead of the pack. So who are the rare folks who hit $1 million? Here's the surprising part. It's almost never one lucky bet. It's boring on purpose. They played the long game, most saved in the same plan for 25 years or more, straight through every crash without flinching. They usually earned more, because saving 15% of a big paycheck simply stacks up faster than 15% of a small one. And they kept it dead simple, low-cost funds, spread out, held for decades. No jumping in and out. That's the whole magic trick. Not luck. Time. And in a country with 130 million households, that millionaire club is a tiny, tiny fraction. So if you're not in it, you are the rule, not the exception. All right. Here's the part you've been waiting for. Almost everyone watching falls into one of 3 groups. Be honest about which one is you. No shame. Just clarity. Group A, $1 million or more in investments, not counting your house. Group B, between $300,000 and $1 million. Group C, under $300,000. Maybe still carrying a mortgage. This is where John sits. And remember my promise, one of these is the safest group, and it's not the one you'd guess. Keep that in mind. Let's walk through all three. We'll start at the top. And before you say, well, that's not me, I'll skip ahead. Don't. Because the mistake millionaires make in this section quietly hurts smaller portfolios too. You'll want to see it coming. If you've got $1 million or more, you're in the top few percent of savers. Truly rare. Be proud. But here's what nobody warns Group A about. Once you build the $1 million, the game flips. It stops being, how high can I grow this? It becomes, how do I turn this into a paycheck that lasts? Let's do the math together. Slowly. Start with your $1,000,000,000. A safe yearly withdrawal is about 4%. $1 million times 4% gives you $40,000 a year from your investments. Now add Social Security. For a typical couple, that's often another $40,000 to $50,000 a year. Stack them. That's $80,000 to $90,000 a year before taxes, with a paid-off home. In much of America, that's a comfortable, solid retirement. But here's the twist nobody expects. A badly built $1.2 million can feel tighter than a well-built $800,000. How? Taxes. If every dollar sits in a traditional 401k, then every dollar you pull gets taxed like a paycheck. Add surprise Medicare charges and forced withdrawals in your 70s, and the IRS becomes a silent roommate eating your retirement. So Group A's real risk isn't, I don't have enough. It's, I don't have a plan. And that exact tax trap? It can bite a $400,000 saver just as hard. That's why this part was for everyone. Quick pause. You've earned this one. If you're 55 or older and you want calm, no-nonsense retirement talk, do old Uncle John a small favor. Tap that like button. Subscribe to Uncle John Financial, where we make retirement clearer, one smart decision at a time. Now, to the group most of you are actually in. Group B. This is where a lot of you live. And here's your reason to stay even if you're not. This group holds the single biggest, I felt behind but I was winning lesson in the whole video. Meet Linda. She's 60. About $450,000 saved across her accounts. And Linda feels behind. Every barbecue, every headline, she feels it. But here's the truth. With that much saved, she's doing 2 to 3 times better than the typical retiree. Say that again. Linda thinks she's losing. She's actually winning. She just never had the scoreboard. Her math. Take $500,000. At 4%, that's $20,000 a year. Add Social Security, and she's looking at roughly $55,000 to $70,000 a year before taxes. Rich. No. A calm, comfortable life? Yes, if she gets a few things right. A paid-off home, the single biggest thing that decides whether her money feels tight or easy. No bad debt. At 60, a credit card balance is a leak in the boat. And smart Social Security timing, waiting, if health allows, can boost her checks for life. Linda doesn't need $1 million. She needs a plan. And she's far closer than she thinks. Now Group C. John's group. The one I refuse to skip. Maybe you're 58. Or 68. Under $300,000 saved. Maybe there was a divorce. A health scare. A layoff. Or you just never had a good plan at work. Remember that fact I promised? The one that let John finally sleep? Here it is. Half the country has nothing saved. And the typical saver has just $87,000. John has $240,000. Which means John, the man who felt like a failure for 2 years, is actually ahead of the vast majority of Americans his age. That's the moment John exhaled for the first time in years. So if $1 million is never going to happen, what do? Most channels go quiet here. Not us. 4 levers, and they beat any hot stock. Work a little longer, or differently. Even 2 or 3 more years changes everything, and it can be part-time, seasonal, something you enjoy. Delay Social Security. For John, this is his biggest lifelong paycheck. Waiting towards 70, if health allows, is like buying a bigger pension that never runs out. Simplify housing. Downsizing can do more for John than 10 years of stock picking. Shrink the fixed bills. Every $100 a month you cut for good is like having thousands more saved, because it's money you never have to withdraw. John's goal was never work again. It was simpler. Make work optional. Take the pressure down. And that's within reach for almost everyone in Group C. Now let me show you something that quietly trips up thousands of retirees. There's a big difference between being house rich and being retirement rich. Picture 2 neighbors. Neighbor 1 owns a $900,000 home, paid off, with $100,000 in savings. Neighbor 2 owns a modest $250,000 home, with $750,000 in retirement accounts. On paper, both are millionaires. Same net worth. But watch what happens at the grocery store. Neighbor 1 can't buy milk with a bedroom. The house doesn't send a monthly check. Neighbor 2 has real income flowing every month. Same scoreboard. Completely different retirement. A house is a wonderful place to live. It's a terrible thing to eat. And here's what humbles even the Group A folks. Even a real, true million has 3 enemies. Most people never see them coming. Taxes. If most of your million is pre-tax, you don't really have $1 million. You have $1 million with a silent partner, the IRS. Bad timing. If the market drops 35% in your first 2 years retired and you keep withdrawing the same amount, you can do permanent damage. Same million, wrong order, very different ending. Healthcare. A typical 65-year-old couple may spend well into 6 figures on healthcare in retirement, before long-term care even enters the picture. So here's the honest takeaway. Below $1 million, don't despair. Above $1 million, don't get cocky. Both of you need the same thing, a real plan, not a bigger number. So let's stop comparing, and make this about your life. 3 questions. Grab a pad later. This is your real number, and it beats any headline. 1. How much guaranteed income will I have? Asterisk Social Security, plus any pension or annuity, the money that shows up no matter what. 2. What are my true fixed costs? Asterisk housing, insurance, utilities, food, basic health. The must-pays. 3. How much fun money do I want? Asterisk travel. The grandkids. Hobbies. Now here's the goal, and it's not a round number like $1 million. The goal is for your savings plus your guaranteed income to cover your must-pays, your fun money, and still leave a cushion for surprises. In an expensive city, that might take more than $1 million. With a paid-off home and simple tastes, $500,000 to $800,000 plus Social Security might be plenty. Your enough number is personal. It was never your neighbor's number. It was always yours. Let's bring it home. Only about 3% of Americans have $1 million in retirement accounts. Count the house, and more look like millionaires, but many are house rich and cash tight. The typical retiree has a few $100,000 at most. So if you have $1 million, welcome to a small, rare club. If you don't, welcome to the majority. You're in very good company. Because the real question was never, am I a millionaire? It's, can I live the life I want, without lying awake at night? Think back to John. $240,000. 2 years of quiet shame. Then one fact, and his first real night of sleep. Think of Linda. Sure, she was losing, when she was quietly winning the whole time. Here's what I want you to carry out of this video. Retirement isn't a contest against the man at the barbecue. It never was. It's a plan that lets you sleep peacefully at night. Your neighbor's story is not your plan. The headlines are not your reality. Your number is your number. And if your plan gives you peace, then no matter what's in the account, you've already won. Here at Uncle John Financial, my job is simple. Sit at that kitchen table with you, through this camera, and help you make one smart decision at a time. So if this let you breathe a little easier, do one last thing for old Uncle John. Watch the video on your screen right now. That's where we take your nest egg, whatever size it is, and turn it into a monthly paycheck you can actually depend on. Because you're not behind. And you're not done. I'll see you there.